Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. What's happening? Rusty, Jersey Red, what's going on? Thanks for holding it down at the comment. As always, Nikki the dog, we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching the replay, which you're going to have to check it out tomorrow. Who else is here? Theodore, what's up? Jeff Steen, ready to rock on a Friday. Happy Friday back at you. Russ, what's up? And shout out to From the Beginning, Emerson, Lake and Palmer on guitar tricks. All right. Glad you're digging it. Jay, what's going on? Good to see you. Happy Friday. Jake99, what's up? Steve in New Hampshire, good evening. Andy, what's up? Gerald in Ottawa, welcome. Excellent. Danny, what's going on? James from Syracuse, welcome. Ryan from West Virginia. Excellent. Kevin, what's going on? Terry, what's up? Zane, what's going on? Appreciate you joining. Scott from Edmonton. All right. My birthplace. Eddie in Berkeley. All right. Welcome. Excellent. Alonzo, Northern Virginia. What's up? Jamie, what's going on? Welcome, everybody. Timmy from Virginia. Excellent. Fatih, welcome. Jody 1, good to see you. Evans, Georgia for Gerald. What's going on? Rad Flying V is here. Excellent. What's going on? Terry, digging into Highway Song. I love it. Quinn, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. All right, Jeff, what's going on? Cool. Well, thanks, everybody. We got a great turnout right off the top there. Jamie's checking us out for the first time from the North Carolina mountains. Well, welcome. I appreciate you joining and checking it out. We're here at the same time every Friday. For those of you new, I'll alternate each week. Electric one week, acoustic the next week. Although a lot of the skills that we talk about, a lot of the approaches we talk about are mostly easily transferable back and forth to acoustic and electric. Theodore, hello. Craig, what's going on? Doing good here. Erica, welcome as always. Good to see you. For those of you joining for the first time, I go through a bunch of musical examples and I have them tabbed out. If you expand the description below the video, there's a link to a PDF file with the tabs for tonight's session. Okay, and tonight's a guitar workout, sort of electric bass, so we're going to get into a little bit of lead guitar stuff. But that said, there are some things here that can transfer over to the acoustic pretty seamlessly, hopefully. King 50, North Nevada, what's up? Excellent. Andrew's been following on Guitar Tricks for a few months and enjoying it. Excellent. Thanks so much for doing that, and thanks for tuning in tonight. All right, so we'll dig in. Hopefully you can hear the guitar okay. Dig into some kind of a warm-up we usually do. And I've got a two-parter, exercise 1. Once again, if you're just joining, expand the description. There's a PDF, a link to a PDF with the tabs we are going to go through tonight. All right. Scott, sorry to hear about the COVID. Glad to hear you're getting over it and getting back on the guitar. I love it. King 50 saw Gary Clark Jr. Great guitar player. Sounded awesome. Excellent. Jody 1, yeah, no problem for that. Excellent. All right, Terry is in the house in Florida. I'm glad you're okay. Crazy stuff down in Florida, but hopefully you're doing all right. Okay, so the first one, exercise 1A, on the handout is the pentatonic diagonal scale. JD, what's up? Welcome from Springfield. All right. Welcome. I've chosen A minor pentatonic because we can cover a lot of the fretboard with this, sort of going diagonally. So, you can kind of learn scales in all sorts of configurations. You can learn scales straight up and down in a certain position. You can learn scales across one string or a couple strings and sort of learn the shapes going up and down that way. This particular one is pretty cool because playing through each octave of the scale, you end up sort of moving up, sliding up a position, okay? Dave Staub, what's up? Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you. So for example, we're starting off this exercise, and I should say this is a warm-up, so maybe getting you familiar with some new scale patterns you haven't seen before, but the main thing is to work on your timing and your picking technique nice and steady, okay? And, work on steady timing, nice clean notes, go as slow as you need to go, okay? Ron from Boston, what's up? Good to see you. So A minor pentatonic, I'm actually starting on the root note, but I'm going to dip down actually and grab the 3rd fret of the low string. That gives us the G note, which is also in the scale. It's a bit lower than the root. And then come back up, and the pentatonic scale has got 5 notes, penta, right? So if I'm starting on the root, the next 5 notes are going to be the 5 notes from the minor pentatonic scale, all right? Okay, so if you check that out, 5, 3, 5 on the low string, now we're going up the scale. So 3, 5, and then a position shift to 7 on the A string. And then we're getting 5 on the D string, and that takes us to 7, which is the upper octave of A. And we sort of take that little shape and keep going with that, right? So now from there, okay, another position shift. So we're 7th fret of the D string, 5, 7 on the G, and then a position shift to 9 on the G. And then because of the B string, we're sort of getting offset 8 and then 10 on the B string there to get up to the next A note, okay? So okay, from here, what I've done is I'm thinking in terms of groups of 4 on 2 strings. So I've started 8 and 10 on the B string, and the next notes in the scale are going to be 8 and 10 on the high string. But now I'm going to move up in groups of 4 with each position shift. So from 8, 10, 8, 10 on the top 2 strings, I'm going 10, 13, 10, 14 on the top 2. Then I'm going to move up to the next position, 13, 15, 12, 15. Okay. Then 15, 17, 15, 17. And then 20. Okay. Back to 17 on the high string, which is our high A note. All right. What's up? Terry's asking, wonder who was credited using the pentatonics first. Oh, they go all the way back to the dawn of early rock and roll, right? That's what they were using. Chuck Berry and the blues guys, certainly all the blues people before that, right? All the blues artists before sort of the birth of rock and roll. Got to be thinking pentatonics, right? Hello, Matthew. One Canadian to another. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Okay, so once you get into 8, 10, 8, 10 on the B string, E string, then you're moving up. Okay. So let me put it all together and try to go a little bit slower and just try and get some nice solid timing. Okay. So. Okay. So what we're going for a warm-up is go slow, just get the fingers moving. Always try and play to timing. Always try to play to steady timing, okay? And the other thing that this exercise I'd like to impart on you, it's a great opportunity to work on down, up, down, up, down, up, all the way through, okay? Alternate picking. Because some of these have 3 notes per string, right? So it's going to kind of, you're going to cross strings on different strokes, which is totally fine. So just keeping that down, up, nice and steady, that alternate picking is going to really help you in the long run. And if you burn that in, that works for a lot of stuff. Okay. So if that's sort of your default picking is down, up, down, up, down, up. And there are some musical situations where some different types of picking where you kind of follow through on the same strokes a couple times are helpful. But most of the time, if you can just get down, up with nice solid timing and just burned in, you can cover a lot of ground that way. So I always recommend doing that. Okay. And then of course, ending off a little bit of vibrato if you've got some vibrato technique, right? Now, if you don't have any vibrato technique, it's all the flick of the wrist here a little bit. Just sort of try to swivel that wrist and just a little bit of a bend on the string and back down. You can work on that going as slow as you need to. Use all your fingers for that, right? That kind of thing. Mark, what's up from Mississippi Blues Country? I love it. Welcome, welcome. Excellent. All right, so that's exercise 1. Heading into exercise 2, 3-note per string major scale. Okay, so this is one of the first major scales I ever learned way back when I first started. And it's a good one because, you get into this triplet feel and it covers a lot of ground as well because you're stretching a little bit, okay? What I've done to kind of throw a monkey wrench into this one is that we're not picking all straight through the scale all the way up. We're actually starting on a note and then skipping a note, going up to the 3rd note up from where you started, and then coming back to the 2nd note on each string, right? So if I was to play this pattern all the way through, it would be 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9 on the 2 low strings, 6, 7, 9, 6, 7, 9 on the middle strings, and 7, 9, 10 on the top 2 strings. Okay, A major. And then we got the extra notes up here. Okay. But what I'm doing is doing a little bit of a different order of the notes. So okay, and then ending it off on the root note, 10th fret of the B string, a little bit of vibrato. Let's go a little bit slower here. So that might be a little bit of a finger twister for you, just changing up the order of the notes a little bit, okay? Matthew, I like that. Got a little bit of a vibrato tip, right? Hang loose gesture, this right here, right? With the one finger. I like that. That's a great tip. All right, yeah, absolutely. I like that a lot. BB King, hang loose. Right? It's all in the action of the wrist. Okay. There you go. So A major. And if you wanted to, you could emphasize the first note of every group of 3 because you see we've got 8th note triplets, right? So if you kind of dig into the first note of every 3, you can kind of... Okay. I think that's also a worthwhile warm-up and also a worthwhile scale to kind of get under the fingers a little bit. And it starts on the root note, by the way. So to transpose that into different keys, right? This is A, and you've got that pattern. You can use that same pattern if you move it up to a D note. And D major is right here, right? Make sense? You with me so far? All right, so the warm-up. Excellent, excellent. In that scale, do I use my middle or ring finger for the middle note? I actually use my middle finger. It's the most comfortable. I've kind of gotten used to stretching across, any sort of 3-note scales where you're a step apart on each one. It feels the most comfortable for me to go index, middle, and then pinky. Vinny Roth, what's up? Welcome, welcome. Okay, exercise 2, a little boogie rhythm thought we'd throw in here from a pretty famous song, but it's got some cool syncopation. So I'm going to play this kind of slow, and then we'll sort of parse out the rhythm on this a little bit. Okay, so kind of a 3-chord boogie. It sounds like this. Max, what's going on? Love it. All right, you might recognize that one, a little Sweet Home Alabama, right? Played a little bit faster, but let's just go slow with it at first. And playing a boogie off a power chord, right? You know, and you see this a lot in blues songs as well as rock. You know, root 5. So in this case, a D power chord, 5th fret of the A, 7th fret of the D. And adding your pinky 2 frets up on the D string. So it would be the 9th fret onto the chord. And that comes from the blues rhythm that, you know, sort of goes. Okay, so what you'll see in a lot of sort of boogie riffs in whether it be classic rock, southern rock, or any other types of genres, they kind of play with that idea a little bit. So this one's, you know, a little more syncopated and has a little more space to it, right? You know, that kind of thing, right? So on that first chord, we've got straight 8th notes until that first upstroke coming back to the D power chord. So you've got 2 downstrokes on the D power chord and then 1 downstroke on the second beat of the bar, adding that pinky in 2 frets up on the D string. And then right after that, a 16th note later, I'm hitting the upstroke back on the power chord and letting it ring out. Okay. Going to apply that same rhythm now to the C power chord, just 2 frets down. So the 3rd fret of the A, 5th fret of the D. Okay. All right, so the syncopation is coming from that upstroke that we're throwing in as an extra 16th note later, right? Because everything else is downstrokes in 8th notes, right? 1 and 2, and 4 E and okay. And it changes in the second bar. Now we're going to a G power chord, 3rd fret of the low string, 5th fret of the D string. All 8th notes until the very end. So, okay, notice 2 strums and then muted strum, right? So I'm lifting my fingers off the string, off the frets, but not the strings, so that I can get a muted percussive kind of strum there, right? Now, right after that first muted strum, I'm adding that 2 frets up with the pinky on the A string this time onto the chord. Another muted strum after it. Then another G power chord, another muted strum, and then a 16th note later on an upstroke, I'm going up to the C power chord again. So that's... All right, so those upstrokes are what causes that syncopation and gives it that funky groove, right? So a little bit faster, those first 2 bars. Okay. Third bar is exactly the same as the first bar, so we get back into the D to the C groove. Second time through, they change it up, right? This time, all downstrokes. There's actually no syncopation in this. It's just straight 8th notes, okay? So I'm talking about this 4th bar in exercise 2. 2 downstrokes, a muted strum, and then you see it's opening up the chords on the ands, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So that's kind of cool. It's like it gives it a little bit of a sort of stuttering bounce, right? So putting the whole thing together up to speed sounds like this. Now, I urge you to go slow with this and take every little chunk at a time. I know we talked about this last week a little bit. How do you attack something like this that for some of us seems a little overwhelming the first time you look at it? You kind of want to try everything all at once. And I say, if you're new to this, do not do that. Just take one chord at a time, okay? So that means in the first measure, just take half a bar, the first 2 beats, and try to get your fingers around that. Go as slow as you need to go and make sure that you've got your timing right on it, okay? So Terry's absolutely right here. The timing is everything in this exercise. That's why we go through this stuff really slow so that you can kind of see, you know, how tricky this stuff can kind of be. And, you know, we can't do everything all at once if you're new to this. So just start with one little chunk, okay? And just work on it for a while and get comfortable with it. And once you feel comfortable with it, you can start to move on to the next chunk, okay? Question here, James, are the muted strums with fretting fingers letting up on the strings? No, I'm just, I'm still resting my fingers on the strings because when I want to still strum, but have it be that percussive muted sound. So I find the best thing to do is, you know, when you press down for the chord, and then if you just lift the pressure off just enough to cut off the sustain of the note, then it becomes a mute. So I'm still holding the strings in position, ready to push down when I need to. And that's what you'll see in the 2nd and 4th bar is, right? So good exercise for that is just to go back and forth, right? Pressing down the chord and then letting it up and then doing the next strum mute. To get comfortable with that. Go slow if you need to, right? That's a great way to attack it. Okay? Right? Makes sense. Everybody with me? All right. Classic riff right there, right? Sweet Home Alabama. All right, exercise 3. I've got a lot of Triad stuff coming up here. This is this little bundle right here is a couple examples of sort of some R&B-ish use of triads into sort of a riff a little bit. And once again, we've got some a little bit of rhythmic challenges here, okay? So let's look at this first one. I'm going to play it, and then I'll talk about it a little bit. This is exercise 3, and now we've got a bit of a shuffle to it. A shuffle feel. So what that means is that, well, you see just above where it says 3A triad riff, you see the 2 eighth notes equal the triplet, triplet, the quarter note and the eighth note with a triplet sign over top. That means that it's a triplet groove, okay? So that we're thinking instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 straight time, the ands are going to be pushed a little closer to the next beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay? Gives it that bounce and a little bit of that groove. So let me play it first of all, and we'll talk about it. So. Really cool use of triads here, because if you can imagine, if I was playing this to the track that it came from, the bass is pulsing on G. And you're moving triads over top of that G note. it's almost like you're playing a melody that's sort of harmonized a couple times, right? Yeah, very Motowny, right? This actually comes from a Stones song called "Try a Little Harder," and we all know that the Stones were, trying to be as R&B and bluesy as possible, right? So that's where all this stuff comes from. But using triads really well, just kind of, adding some melody and some movement to some, you just be like, right, playing along with that or playing the backbeat, 1, 2, 3, 4, sort of Motown stuff. This is more of a riff where it's, kind of moves a lot, Yeah, definitely has a Doors vibe as well, Robbie Krieger. Absolutely. Let's just see. I want to catch up on some comments. Jake 99 talking about the stretching the pinky on the previous example. Yes, that is definitely something that you need to kind of work on, right? So what I recommend for that, if the stretch is too much down here where the frets are further apart, move up the fretboard so that you're around the 8th or 10th fret and practice that, okay? Because it's a little bit easier to get that stretch going. And just lots of repetition and start making your way down chromatically as you get more and more comfortable with it, okay? Right? And if this is the spot where you're really stretching, then you maybe go up 1 fret, and that's where you sort of have to work on it for a while and just keep working on it until that stretch feels a lot more natural, and then just work your way down the fretboard until you can get it, okay? Hopefully that helps. Terry, on the 5/9 extended power chord, I cheat, just kind of hammer the 9 real fast, letting up on the 5 briefly. Yeah, just doing what you got to do to make it happen is all good. I absolutely endorse that. Excuse me. So, yeah, making it happen the way that you need to, all good. What's up, TN? Welcome. What's up, Joseph? Good to see you. All right. All right, so let's dig into this exercise 3A. Okay, we got some muted strums in here, but also some offbeats as well. It's mostly 8th notes, but we're sort of hitting it here and there a little bit differently. So first one is a G major triad, 5 on the D, 4 on the G, 3 on the B. Okay, that comes straight out of the full G bar chord, right? But right there, you've got what's known as a major triad. Okay, it has the 3 notes that make up a G major chord. So it's a very economical chord shape. And then what I'm doing is I'm strumming that and then going up to 4, 3, 3 on the top 3 strings. Okay, which is also a G major triad. I've just sort of rearranged the low note, which is G, and replaced it with the high note up an octave of the G note up top. Okay, so this is also a G major triad. Going from there, barring down on the 5th fret, and then barring down on the 7th fret of the top 3 strings, that's a major triad going to minor and minor. Okay? So let's see what we got going here. Now we've got some chukka-chukkas in between, as Matthew has put in the comments there, which I like. Okay. So in between, so the first beat, I'm just strumming that lower triad. Second beat's going to have a downstroke on the chord. And then the upstroke is I'm going to lift off that chord, but not the strings. So I get the muted strum on the upstroke. Right? Then the next beat is going to have a down up in a row with the 5th fret triad and the 7th fret triad, those minor triad shapes. Okay? Then I'm going to do the next downstroke is muted up top, back down to the first triad on the upstroke. Okay, G major triad on the upstroke, letting it ring out to the second beat of the next bar. So And then it repeats. Second and third beats are exactly the same. And then we rest at the end, okay? After we get to the next one. So we put it together. Right? One more time. Okay. Good stuff. Love that riff. Simple once you get it down, but super catchy, right? All right, exercise 3B is a lot more busy, and it's a little more sort of R&B kind of filly, fills and almost leads. Okay, definitely some embellishments going on here. Okay, and I'm sliding. Oh, let me just play it first, then we'll talk about it. Time a little bit slower. Okay. Once again, playing off triads, but embellishing a little bit more. And this is just textbook kind of stuff that you can actually adapt for any genre, actually, this kind of stuff. Let's look at the first bar a little bit. We're sliding into another triad shape, and this is another G major triad. 9th fret of the D, 7th fret of the G, 8th fret of the B string, okay? I'm sliding into the 9th fret, okay? Just that single note, and then grabbing the upper part of the triad. Okay. And now you're in a position to add the ring finger onto the 9th fret of the G string. Okay, so I'm picking and then hammering on the 9th fret of the G string onto that. Back off the 9th fret and then back on. Okay, so. Okay, now I'm going to mash my finger down on the 7th fret of the D and G. And I'm going to pick and do that quick hammer on onto the 9th fret of the D string, onto that chord. Back to the 7th fret of the D and G. And then down to the 10th fret of the A string, which is an G note. So we're kind of playing down. Okay, so. So we're playing a couple triad shapes here. There's a G triad here, and then A, D, and G string is also a G major triad as well. So we're kind of playing out of this C shape moved up to be a G chord. Okay, textbook stuff right here. Then I'm moving to the C chord, but I'm playing off of the 7th fret of the A string sliding in, which is the major third of the C chord, and then my index finger is positioned to be able to bar down on the 5th fret of the D and G string, okay? Okay? Okay, so. And another move right here. Those hammer-ons onto the double stops, right? 5 to 7 on the D string. Back to 5, back to 7, ending off with the upper part of the G bar chord. One more time on this. Okay, so a lot of meat on that. Again, if you're new to this kind of stuff, just take a little chunk at a time, okay? Try to get used to how it feels, the timing of the phrasing a little bit. But these are the kind of tricks that are used all the time in all sorts of genres, not just sort of more of an R&B thing like what this example is. Okay. So yeah, we're playing out of that G shape up here, but also playing out of the C shape kind of up here, which is where your index finger is playing off this C major triad right here, fifth fret of the D, G, and B. And then back down to the G chord there. Okay. Cool stuff. All right. So what do we got here? Ron's talking about sliding on the G string on the acoustic, shaving off the callus. Oof, yeah, you got to be careful with that stuff. Yes, the joys of sliding around on the acoustic. I know it. It'll cut you up a little bit, potentially. Audible Headache is here. What's up? Good to see you. And Tim is here as well. Totally new player. Well, welcome. Appreciate your kind words, Tim. Please don't get scared off. Some of the stuff I cover is a little bit beyond, but I also have got some straight ahead stuff as well. So if you want to rewind back, we started with some more straight ahead stuff. All right. So next exercise 4. By the way, if you're just joining us, we're going through a document with some tabs in it. Yes. So Ron and Tim, please expand the description below the video, and there's a link to a PDF. It says get the tabs here. Click on that link. You should be able to see a PDF of the tabs we're going through tonight. That's the way we do it each and every Friday here, same time. Okay, so that's what we're working through. We're now on exercise 4. I don't remember who requested it last week, but somebody was requesting some Eddie Van Halen stuff. So I couldn't resist. I threw some stuff in here tonight, paying tribute to the man. And, hopefully getting a few cool little exercises out of it as well. Starting off, nothing too crazy, but this is actually from a Van Halen song, but we're going to slow it down, way down, play it a little cleanly, and work on some palm muting with some single note riffing kind of. So this is exercise 4. Let me just play through it slowly, and we'll talk about it a little bit. It goes okay. So the way Van Halen played that was with loads of distortion and a lot faster. It was more like that kind of thing. All right. But there's a lot to be learned here if you just play this slow. Okay. And first of all is the sort of that palm muted groove. And again, we're still in that shuffle groove. Okay. So if we were in straight time, it would be, everything would be equally picked, but we have that bounce because our upstroke is pushed a little bit. It's delayed. So, okay. So now what we're doing is we're going to grab on the upstroke a note, 7th fret of the D string, pedaling on that A with a little bit of palm muting. Let's talk a little bit about the palm muting, right? Your karate chopper, you want to just have just lightly positioned, sort of resting on the strings down by the bridge of the guitar, okay? And you can experiment with how, the pressure. I recommend starting with just the lightest pressure just to sort of dampen the string a little bit, okay? And I'm just basically resting on the saddles of the bridge, okay, as opposed to wide open, right? So it definitely gives a different sound, a different kind of muted thing. So if I start, okay, I'm getting that. Okay. So we're alternating between the 7th fret of the D, 5th fret of the D, right? And And then at that last time, grabbing full stop, 2 notes at the same time, 5th fret of the G and B string, and just giving it a little bit of what I call a bluesy bend. And in this case, I'm pushing it, the way that I'm fretting this, I'm sort of twisting the wrist to kind of push downwards a little bit and just give it a little bit of, okay? Call that a bluesy bend, where it's not quite a half step bend. It's somewhere in a quarter bend, a little bit. But it's a bluesy thing to do, where you kind of just sharpen that note, those notes a little bit. And then on the repeat, instead of going up to the high double stop, 2 notes at the same time, coming down to the lower C note, 3rd fret of the A string, and doing the same thing. I'm just pulling a little bit sharp, just giving a little bit of English on it, right? Okay. All right. What's up, Terry? First thing I thought of when I heard it was a Van Halen. All right, there you go. Michael Anthony bass line. There you go. Actually, it's a song called I'm the One. And that's from the intro right there. So, but Eddie had a killer swing, a killer shuffle. Just really great feel. So, so that's a fun one to dig into. All right. What's up, Larry? Glad you made it. No apologies necessary at all. All right. Heading into exercise 5. All right. So getting into some lead stuff. You beginners out there, you hang in there a little bit. Okay. You know, if this is too much, maybe it's something where you just take a little piece of this and work on it, you know, just a real basic thing. Okay. But a lot of things that, one of the things that Eddie did really well was legato playing. Okay. Hey, Donna, welcome. Good to see you. Hope you're well. So I'm going to play this lick right here. It's a group of triplets. And the idea is that we're playing 3 notes on each string. We're hammering on, okay, and just picking once, okay? So that's sort of known as legato playing, where you're not doing a lot of picking. You're just basically picking anytime you change the strings. So this particular lick goes like this. Okay. Okay, so let's break it down a little bit, okay? Because Eddie loved geometrical shapes, and he played fast enough that it didn't matter that it wasn't necessarily a scale, okay? This isn't really a scale, but what matters is that he ends on the note that he's looking for, which in this case is an E. So he kind of ends the run on sort of the, you know, like this is actually in this part of the song where I took this lick from, he's playing over an E chord. So he ends on E. But really, this isn't really a scale. It's more of a shape pattern. It's geometric, right? Like each one, okay, is 11, 12, and 14 on each string, okay? So doing the A string, 1 pick, and you hammer on. Okay. So even if you just had to work on that a little bit, right? Like hammer on the middle and then the pinky. Okay. Rad Flying V, this is actually from I'm the One as well, a little bit later in the song. He does this lick actually twice in I'm the One. He did the first one on the A, which was up the neck a little bit. And then he did it later over the E chord. But even if you're just to work on your hammer-ons, okay? Pick it, hammer on, just like it sounds. Hammer on that note onto the 12th fret and then again onto the pinky, and see if you can make those notes ring out. Even just at that level, right? Okay? What's up, Dennis? No worries at all. Okay, so A string and then D string and then G string, but on the G string he does it twice. So B string he does it. And then the last time is a little bit different. It's sort of like what we did earlier with the 3-note per string major scale thing, where it goes 11, but up to 14 with the pinky and then pulls off. That's the only pull off in the lick. Pulling off from 14 to 12 and ending on the E note. Okay? So. Adding some vibrato at the end of that. Okay? This is legato. This is just picking as each time you come into a new string. Except for the G string, he picks it twice. Okay? Whoops. Got me? All right. Do, re, mi, do, re, mi, do, re, mi. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, I mean, it just, when you play it as fast as intended, it sounds pretty impressive. Throw some distortion on that, and it sounds pretty, All right. Exercise 5B along the same line, but I'm going to stay on one string. And don't get scared off by, this looks like a lot of notes and a lot going on here. Don't get scared off by it. It's sort of like an exercise that you can turn into a lick with two shapes on the B string. Okay? So I'm going to start 7th fret, 8th fret, 10th fret. And I'm just going to pick and hammer on. But then I'm going to pull off. Okay? Okay. Then what I'm going to do, okay, so that's the first part of this. Just picking once. And I'm only going to pick once on this whole thing. But after I do that first one, 7, 8, 10, 8, 7, I'm going to position shift and slide up the index finger to the 8th fret. And I'm still going to keep it going. I'm not going to need to pick that once I get going, but it's going to go 8, 10, 12 with the same fingers, pulling off again. Okay, so. Okay. Okay, I'm going to repeat that whole thing by sliding back down to the 7th fret and playing it twice. So. Okay, so a little bit faster. Okay, and then I'm going to come back down to the 7th fret one more time. 7, 8, 10, pulling off, 8, 7, and hammering onto the 9th fret of the G string to end it off with vibrato. So it's going to sound like this. Okay. Now, so I've turned it into a little bit of a lick, but you can kind of do this. You can kind of go back and forth on this as much as you want. I'm not picking, right? And it helps if you have a little bit of distortion, right? So if I crank up the distortion, okay? That's sort of the idea with it once you get going and get it under your fingers. And you can kind of move around and do any kind of scale patterns. You can kind of keep it going a little bit and go up and down one string. Okay, so that's sort of the idea with that one. But practice this. You with me? Did I lose everybody? Are you still with me? Okay, even if that is super challenging for you, even just working on this. Okay. just strengthening the fingers to be able to do it themselves, right? Not the same on the acoustic. It can be done on the acoustic, though. You can practice that stuff down here, right? Definitely not the same effect, but plenty of people play the acoustic and do lots of legato stuff. Okay, so it's about strengthening the fingers a little bit, getting good at hammer-ons and pull-offs, nice and clean. And moving it around, all right? You with me? Excellent. All right, exercise 6. Back down to a clean sound here. All right, and keeping with the Van Halen, this is actually a lesser-known riff, but couldn't resist. Another cool Triad riff. Let me play through it first. We'll talk about it. See if we get this. Messed it up. Hold on one time. All right, one more time. I'm going to do. Can this be found at any time on the internet if I need to reach it? Absolutely. It stays on the Guitar Tricks channel, okay? So if you click on Guitar Tricks channel and you go to videos, you'll see everything, all the live streams, all the videos. They're all listed, okay? So you can replay these at any time. I'm going to go a little slower at this riff. Pretty cool little riffs, got some stuff in it, but mostly playing some triads, okay? So we've got open D string. Hold on, I think I gotta block somebody here. How do I do that? There we go. Should be gone. All right. So apologies for that. All right. Open D chord. Okay. All right. And again, the palm muted sort of pedaling on the open D string in between. Look at that, 6th fret of the G, 5th fret of the top 2 strings. That's an A major triad, and moving it down 2 frets is a G major triad, okay? So sliding up 4 to 6 on the G string and then grabbing the top part of that triad again. So instead of just playing, right, he adds in sort of a little bit of an embellishment on that. And then ending on the double stop, 7th fret of the G and B string is a D major double stop. Okay, so. And then repeats again, but using the upper D triad up top, 7th fret of the G and B string, 5th fret of the high E is also a D major triad. And then C major triad here with some arpeggiations. Going to the G major triad, arpeggiating the top couple strings. So I think that's pretty cool, really cool riff. Using a lot of different techniques to kind of give it a lot of texture, right? It's not just like moving, although that's a big component of it, like sort of, moving triads and doing this, right? But I think the song is called, ended up on the last Van Halen record that they did in 2012. It's called Blood and Fire. But it was based on a really old song that he had in a soundtrack in the 80s. And just a really cool riff. So check that one out, Blood and Fire. This might not be 100% exactly what he played, but it's pretty close. But, you know, throwing in some slides. Okay, and then throwing in some arpeggiation. Okay, really cool stuff. All right. I guess I'm going to have to hand in my Beretta. That's funny. Rad Flying V. That's hilarious. All right. Couple left here. We only got a couple minutes. Single note riffs. Exercise 7 is the Eagles portion of tonight's proceedings. All right. So we're moving it around a little bit. Cool single note riffs with a little bit of bends, and again, sort of almost like those R&B examples, sort of playing off the chord shapes a little bit. The first one, 7A. Okay, so playing off a G chord there, and then to the C chord. Okay, so third fret of the low string, got a slide from 5 to 7. We're just going up the major pentatonic scale. Now the bend here is a little bit interesting. 5th fret of the A string going to the 7th fret of the A string, and just doing a half step bend. So it gives it a little bit of a bluesy thing. Okay, so that's actually G mixolydian. And then doing the same thing, starting with the C root. Okay, so just a half step bend there. You're bending up to the note that's a half, one fret up. Adding some vibrato at the end. Some cool, simple, straight ahead kind of stuff, just playing off chords, right? G chord. C chord. All right, exercise 7B is a little bit busier. Goes like this. Okay, this time in the key of E minor, playing E minor pentatonic, hammering on 5 to 7 on the A, and going to 7 on the D, back to 7 on the A, and then 5 on the D with a little bit of that bluesy bend. Back to 7 and 5 on the A. Quick slide, right, from 7 to 5 on the low string. 3rd fret with a little bit of a bluesy bend, open E string. Really slow. Okay. And then the last one just sort of stops on that G note. Right? Last exercise before we have to go. Since throughout some Van Halen tonight, thought I'd show some tapping. I don't think we've ever done any tapping on these sessions. But in honor of Eddie, I thought I would do sort of this cool little thing right here. Okay, so you're going to do some pedal tapping. For those who don't know what tapping is, we're going to use our picking hand, normally finger on that, my index finger at the 12th fret of the high string to start off with. Okay, and I'm just going to, that's where I'm going to be tapping is the 12th fret of the high string, and I'm going to move notes on the high string. Okay, so let me go slow, and this is the melody. Okay, and then just doing the same thing on the B string, exact same notes. All right, so. So if you work on that a little bit, right, and get some speed to it. kind of a classical sounding thing, right? Eddie used to do that in his live solo, kind of in the mid 80s, sort of that sort of idea a little bit. I don't think that was ever on a record, but pretty cool. All right. So there you have it. We dug into a lot more sort of lead stuff than probably usual, but I know some of you digging it. So I'm glad you stuck it out for it. All right. We'll be back with the acoustic next week. I think it's finger picking next week. So we'll do that. Some finger picking focus. All right. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you hanging out tonight, joining. A great turnout, great engagement on the comments. All right. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. Have a great next week. We'll see you next Friday, same time. All right. Thanks so much for the kind words here. All right. Thank you, thank you, Danny. Thank you, Rusty. I appreciate it. When you're tapping, are you pulling down slightly? Yeah. Scott, it depends on the... if you have a lot of distortion, you don't have to really push, sort of pluck that as much. You can really just kind of come straight on and then release it. But, where you kind of have to do that is if you have a cleaner sound, you might have to sort of do downwards, right? To kind of almost pluck the string as you're doing it. But I find you don't have to do that with distortion as much. You can just kind of go straight on. So. So with the tapping, I think if you've got distortion, you can just kind of hammer it right on there. And the pull-off sort of will automatically sustain, especially if you're going fast. All right? Excellent. All right. Oh, I think I missed some stuff here. King 50, thank you. Appreciate it. Joseph, thank you. Larry, thank you. Zane, thanks so much. Ron and Quinn, thank you. Jody 1, thank you. Terry, awesome. Thank you. Jay, thank you. Rad Flying V, thanks. Don't put the Beretta down. All right, thanks, Ron. JD, thank you for these lessons. I've been looking forward to them every week. Been subscribing to Guitar Tricks for over 2 years and love it. Thank you so much. That's awesome. We appreciate it. Terry, thank you. Andy, thank you. Ron, happy Canadian Thanksgiving to our Canadian friends. Absolutely. Alonzo, thank you. Scott, thanks so much. Theodore, Arthur, Donna, thank you so much. Ryan, thank you. Jake, thanks. Gerald, thanks. Thank you so much. Thanks, Tim. All right, thanks, Erica. All right, well, take care, everybody. Have a great weekend into next week, and hope to see you back here same time next Friday. Cheers, everybody. Take care.